Hey guys, Marsing here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be doing the team building guide for the physical Super Vegito EZA that is coming out on JP tomorrow. At the time that this video will go live, I think the EZA comes out in 11 hours. I will be streaming it on my JP account. I think it's 8 AM in the morning for me in the UK, so it's like midnight PST. I will be live. I don't actually have either of the units on my JP, but obviously I'm going to do the EZAs, and we'll see how it goes. So, typical 30-stage EZA. Once we get to stage 20, the units that get damage reduction and essentially are not usable if you want to do damage is Tech, Int, and all super units. And you can see the super one comes into play straight from turn 4, so you want to be using a full extreme team all the way through. So typical 30 stages, you obviously get all the medals to EZA Physical Super Vegito, you get some physical orbs, 11 physical Kais, and 30 stones, and then obviously there are missions as well, so you can get 34 stones in total. So the weakness category for this EZA is Transformation Boost. Now Transformation Boost is a pretty large category. It does have a fair few super type units, but obviously we're not going to be using any of them. We're going to be focusing on the extreme side. And obviously, again, going back to this, with Tech and Int getting damage reduction, we're only really going to talk about AGL, physical, and STR units. So, as always, with my team building guides, I'm going to go through my top picks and honourable mentions. If there's any characters that you think I missed out or should have talked more about, let me know down below in the comments section. And obviously, if you do find this guide useful at all, do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And of course, we'll have a Super Buu one coming up after this as well. So, if we jump straight in, obviously, one of the best all-round leaders to use is going to be STR EZA Cooler, simply for the fact that he has a Transformation Boost leader skill of 3 key and 170 across the board. This obviously gives you the widest range of scope for, like, units that you can bring on the team, because you can literally bring any Transformation Boost unit and they will all be under his leader skill. He also supports Transformation Boost when you're facing one enemy, which we will be here. So 2 key and 50% attack and defense is very good. This guy is an absolute must-run unit for this event. You're not going to be able to transform into Final Form Cooler, because Vegito does not count as a pure Saiyan, but, you know, EZAs don't usually go for 6 turns, so you're probably never going to see him transform into Final Form Cooler, but with how good his support is for the team, you probably don't really want to anyway, right? He's just going to be powering up the other units, helping you to kill off the event as quickly as possible, so even if you got the opportunity to, I mean, if you got to turn 6, it's probably going to be the last turn anyway. So very, very good unit, has good links, has big bad bosses, absolutely the #1 choice for the team, even if you're not using him as the leader, because we do have some other options. One of his best friends and one of the best units in the game, still easily top 10, potentially top 5. I guess the anniversary LRs are in the mix now, but this guy doesn't technically have a Transformation Boost leader skill, but his leader skill is Terrifying Conquerors or movie bosses, and then 30% extra to Transformation Boost. So obviously you can make a full team of Terrifying Conquerors or movie bosses characters that are on Transformation Boost, and then they will be getting the full 200% leader skill from him. So even though you're more limited because they have to be on Terrifying Conquerors or movie bosses, his leader skill is obviously higher, therefore making it much easier. And this unit is absolutely insane still, especially against a physical enemy. You put him together with that EZA Cooler and, you know, he's just going to be going absolutely insane. So definitely the best build is going to be this guy's team with the STR EZA Cooler on it. But yeah, I don't know, there's probably not much I really need to explain about this, right? Like, he is absolutely crazy. Gets all these extra additionals. His best build is full crit, so he can do insane amounts of damage. He's just very, very good, right? We also have the actual Super Buu himself, who also is getting an EZA. He's a Transformation Boost lead for 3 key and 150. Now, you could do either of these EZAs in any order. So if you do the Super Buu EZA first, then obviously he then has a 3 key and 170 leader skill, much like the STR EZA Cooler. So even pre-EZA, I mean, he's not great, But if you have no other real option for the lead, because it does allow you to use anyone from the category without having to be restricted to other categories, he could be a good stand-in lead. I would imagine if you can run the other leaders instead, you probably wouldn't use this guy at all, unless you have done his Easy A first, because then even if you don't use him as a leader, he can be very good on the team. But I would say he is more of an honourable mention than a top pick, unless you have to use his leader skill. So, next up we have the AGL Golden Frieza. Not very good for a leader, but I think definitely a very solid unit to use on the team. Because Easy A's, as I've already said, being fairly short, he's not going to lose a lot of his damage reduction by the time you get to the end. So he's going to be a very, very effective slot 1 tank. If you are running the largely Wicked Bloodline or even the just STR cooler team build, then this guy fits in perfectly, gets the 200% leader skill, will be very, very strong defensively. So, top pick. Now, remember for Easy A's, you can't use units with the same name. So, if you don't have this guy, you could use the TUR AGL Golden Frieza, or you could use the Tech one. The AGL one obviously is better defensively, whereas the Tech one does more damage. However, as we already said in the beginning, you don't want to be using Tech units in this event anyway. So, you can use the Tech Golden Frieza if he's the only Golden Frieza you have, but just bear in mind that whilst he will still be tanking well, he basically won't do any damage. Whereas this guy, best of both worlds, right? Tanks really well and does really good damage. So he is definitely a top pick for the team if you do have him. Next up we have the STR Full Power Frieza. Now you could use the AGL Full Power Frieza, but you're not fighting a Goku, so you don't get his full passive. And this guy obviously has type advantage. And his Easy A is pretty decent. I feel like he got quite overlooked when he got his Easy A. I feel like it was better than a lot of people thought it was at the time. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not like a top, 5 Easy A or anything, but in an event like this, where, he's a transformation boost enemy, you're fighting a you're fighting a physical enemy, I should say, he is going to be very, very good. So, he's a top pick for the team. He's just there to do tons of damage, but he will do that very well in this Easy A. So, then we have the free-to-play STR Prime Battle Frieza. He's a good free-to-play option. If you're a newer player or you're severely lacking on a lot of the units, he does have an extreme class leader skill, 4 key and 90%. Honestly, if you pair that up with a friend LR cooler and are basically running all the units that would be on his 200% lead, you're still getting 290% in total. A lot of people will be able to get all the way through the Easy A using that team. So, solid free-to-play option, but even if you don't want to use him as a leader, if you are running that largely Wicked Bloodline build, he will still be very effective. So, he raises defense on his 12 key super, so in the harder stages, maybe you want to go for his 12 key to get that extra defense, but he certainly can be quite effective. So, next up we have Physical LR Janemba. So, we've already talked about quite a few movie bosses characters, so you could use him as a leader, I guess. But he's just another solid defensive unit. He has guard as long as he's in slot 1 or 2. He builds up attack and defense if he's in slot 2. Unfortunately, Super Vegito doesn't have a Ki Blast super attack, so he can't nullify his super, but he will be very good defensively. The only downside to him in a shorter event like an Easy A is that it does take him a few attacks in slot 2 to get built up, so you're probably never going to see him fully built up by the time you finish the stage, but he can be a very solid option on the team just to throw in slot 1 with that guard, and he will defend very nicely. Has a good link set, right? Has big bad bosses, has some of these links like Metamorphosis, Brutal Beatdown, Fear and Faith that a lot of these characters have on this team, so he is a very good option. Obviously there is the STR Janemba as well that you could choose to use, but again, same name, can't bring them both. But the STR Janemba would still be decent. He's kind of outdated now, but built-in dodge, he's got type advantage and guard anyway, so he would be good, but this guy obviously going to be a little bit better. Next up we have Broly. I thought it'd be worth mentioning him, right? He got his Easy A not long ago. He's a movie bosses or full power lead. You absolutely can make a full transformation boost team out of this leader skill, so he could be a worthwhile stand-in leader. But even if you're not using him as a leader, whilst a lot of people don't really like his Easy A, again, he's definitely not top tier, he is still pretty decent, right? And if you have to throw him on the team as like the final pick to fill out the 6th member of the team, he will still be pretty good. It's not like he's terrible or anything, right? So he can be a good stand-in lead and a good slot filler. More of an honourable mention than anything else, but definitely can still be pretty good. Next up we have the Physical LR Buu tanks. I grouped a bunch of Buu units together, right? Because this guy leads Power Absorption or Majin Power. We already talked about STR Super Buu, but you can make a team with a lot of these Buu units. that will be very good. So this guy raises defense on his 12 key. 18 key. It's an infinite stack, but obviously the event's not going to be super long. He does have a built-in chance to additional, which then raises his attack. He recovers HP at the start of the turn, which is always good for EZAs because you can't use items to heal. So he can be very effective. And then we have a bunch of units that you can run with him, like you got STR Kid Buu. STR Kid Buu will be really good in this event. Type advantage, throwing out all these additional super attacks. He's got links like Big Bad Bosses. You know, if you had a rotation, even though they don't share tons of links, imagine this guy next to like STR EZA Cooler. I think they only share Big Bad Bosses and Fierce Battle, but then Cooler's giving him 50% support. Like, he'll just go crazy. So even if you're not running a lot of Buu units, this guy can be very, very good. Then we have units like the AGL Buu Piccolo. Has built-in dodge, supports power absorption, which a few of these units will be on. And he can be very effective on the team as well. Next up, we have AGL Cell. So just like the Buu units, you can build a team with a lot of the Cell units on it as well. So of course, if you use this AGL Cell as the leader, his leader skill is going to cover all of those because of the Android/Cell saga. Plus, there are also a few units on Transformation Boost that are on power absorption as well. So you definitely can make a team using this AGL Cell as the leader. So, not only is he good, like in an EZA, obviously you're not potentially even going to see him transform all the way up to Perfect Cell, but he's still going to be very useful, very powerful unit. You know, even though he doesn't have type advantage in this particular event, he's still going to have good defense and do good damage. So, he's definitely a good option. Even if you're not using him as a leader, he's still pretty good, but because of his links, you probably want to run another Cell unit at least with him. But even then, he does have Big Bad Bosses, he has Nightmare, Shocking Speed, and of course Fierce Battle. So he shares links with a lot of other units on the team, even if they're not other Cell units. So we got the physical LR Cell with his EZA. Obviously, he is pretty good. EZAs, of course, again, not being the hardest content, you know, he's not outdated enough to not be useful in those. He can do a lot of damage with his 18 key. His 12 key, whilst you don't need an AoE, does also heal you. So that can be beneficial as well if you are finding the later stages a little bit more difficult, since obviously you can't bring items. So he can certainly be very useful. We also have the second form Cell, that is the support unit for Android/Cell Saga. He is STR, so he has type advantage. He's got pretty decent defense overall. He's not like a slot 1 unit, but he's a perfect floating support if you are bringing a lot of the Cell units. But bear in mind, he does only support Android/Cell Saga. So if you're bringing a mix of like Cell units and then Coolers or Majin Buu units, he's only going to be supporting the Cell units. Then we have Baby Janemba. So there's a couple of Heroes units that aren't tied specifically to a Heroes team, like Baby Janemba. He obviously shares quite a few links with some of these other units. He relies on dodge for his defense, but each time he dodges, his dodge increases. For an EZA, to be fair, post-super attack, he will have decent enough defense to be able to tank normal attacks. He might take a lot of damage from a super in the later phases, but ideally he's just going to dodge, right? But he gets 120% extra attack and defense on super as long as your HP is 60% or above. Annoyingly, that triggers when he attacks, so if you take a bunch of damage at the start of the turn, then he doesn't then get that extra attack and defense. But he can still be a very viable option to use defensively, has some good links. Metamorphosis, of course, is a healing link that a lot of the Janemba and like cooler units have, so that is pretty useful. Then we have the AGL Arms that got his EZA, the free-to-play one. He gives Extreme Class allies key and defense. He also gives Artificial Lifeforms allies extra attack, so that includes all the cells. And he is on power absorption, so he's on AGL Cell's leader skill. Yeah, he's pretty decent. Raise defense for 1 turn. You can't lower attack, but he can be pretty solid. He builds up defense with each hit that he gets, but he's primarily going to be on the team to be like a 3rd slot floating support unit. But for a free-to-play option, he definitely is very solid. And then last but certainly not least, we have probably one of the best Extreme Heroes units, which is Sealess. Again, not tied to a Heroes team. He gives support to Artificial Lifeforms and Time Travelers, so that includes all the Cell units as well. He has a built-in chance to dodge in his quote-unquote base form, which, to be fair, you're probably not going to get to turn 5, and if it is, it'll probably be the last turn, so you're not really going to see his transformation. He raises defense on super. I guess more so for this team, he's useful as a floating support unit, because it really is his like transform state that is the one that dishes out tons of damage. So this guy still going to be useful on the team, and yeah, good for support, good defense, can dodge, has type advantage in this particular setup, so definitely very, very good. So that was the transformation boost, top picks and honorable mentions. If we just have a quick look, obviously again we missed out tech and int units because of the lack of damage. All super units don't do damage either, so I don't think there's really anyone else that I missed out. But like I said at the beginning, let me know. Obviously you can use some androids like the Android 13. He's on cells, 200% leader skill. So there are a couple of other units on here that would be pretty decent. But I think I went over most of the top picks. Cool Eza, of course, if you are running a Wicked Bloodline team, he only supports Wicked Bloodline, but there's plenty of options for them on this team, so he can be pretty good. Actually, this STR Evil Buu is actually quite good against Majin Buu Saga enemies, so he would actually be pretty good in this EZA as well. So let me know down below if there's any other units you think I missed that we should have talked about, and let me know what your team build is going to be for the physical Super Vegito Extreme Z battle. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.